My guest here in Hong Kong is Tommy Kwok, who is a young adult leader for a church planting initiative in this big city. Tommy, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, you, of course, went to Melbourne, Australia for some further training, and it was there that something happened that changed your life. Can you describe your experience there?
Yeah, actually, I think, God really has given me this divine appointment because when I was in Hong Kong, I was a Sunday church, but after I went to Australia, and then I started to get to know about some of the Adventist friends, and then one of the things that really amazed me is like in the past I didn't really study Bible so much, but when I came to Adventist Church, and then I started to go in depth into the Bible and understand a bit more. But actually, becoming the Seventh Adventist is a really tough situation for me, because for myself, I grew up in the atheist family, so my families are really against my religions. So when I was in Melbourne, and also there's a lot of secular things that really deceived me and then to get me away from the church. And also I met some of my friends that is not very good. We go partying on Friday night, and then so even I went to the Adventist Church for the first few months, but afterward I just left the church again, but God has really placed this burden in my heart, and then when I was still enjoying what we call enjoying this secular entertainment, and I started to realize myself a bit of empty, and also because of some of the family things happen in Hong Kong, and then one day I picked up the phone from my family, my sister, and then they told me my mom is going to do the surgeries to cut off her hands, and because of my, when I went to Melbourne, and then I started to spend a lot of family's monies, and I didn't realize how much they have really paid for me, and I just keep spending until that day, and then I received that call, and I started to have that sense to know that the family really cares me a lot, and then so I started to, and then there's a picture that came to me that I had to go back to God, and then so I started to call the friends in the church, and then they told me to come back to the church, and that's how I started to begin my true journeys in a Christian walk with God.
Wonderful. So you made a full commitment then.
Yeah, that's right.
So you come from a family of non-believers.
Yeah.
But you yourself, okay, so now you've come back to Hong Kong, and you're not just involved in your work, which takes up a lot of your time, but you are focused on ministry. Tell me what you are aiming to do here in Hong Kong.
Actually, when I came back from Melbourne, and then I attend one of the Seventh Adventist Church in Hong Kong, but to be honest, in that time period is really one of my toughest time in my spiritual walk with God, and then because there's so many things in Hong Kong that really lead us astray from God, and then my family pressure, and also in Hong Kong it's really hard to find a Sabbath-keeping jobs, and also in the church, maybe because not everyone are really focusing on reaching out to people. So I started to want a lot of programs rather than, to doing a more like one-to-one works with God. And then so I started to feel like the importance. And then so I started to think, if God really want me to go for Him, and then I will do whatever I can. And then so actually my burden is really on my friends, because when I went to the church, I saw not many of the young adult people like my age in the church. So I just pray to God, if God, that is the target group that you want me to reach out to. So please give me this burden. And I've been praying so much, and then really, and one day, and I think God has really gracious to us, and then He actually sent Johnny all the way from Melbourne and came to visit us, and then he saw our situation, and he told us, a story about a matches. He said we are just like a matches, if we all stand alone, and then we will finally burn out by ourselves. And then he told us we have to gather again. So that night, and then actually we gather all the people from Melbourne together, and then we started to think and to plan and to pray together on every Friday night. And then God has given us these visions. And then we are so amazed, and then we are so shocked because that mission is so great. And then God is telling us to not only to set up a care group in Hong Kong, but also to set up a care group church in Hong Kong. But back then we only have 4 person.
Right.
Yeah. And then this is really a challenging work.
Right. But God specializes in starting with just a few people who make that commitment.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we see here that you have plans here, you have care groups starting, you have groups being planted, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your story, and I know God has big plans ahead for you.
Yep.
And viewers at home, please pray for Tommy, pray for other young people here in Hong Kong that they will have this vision for mission, and we see this tremendous start as groups are being planted, and we see a centre of influence starting right here. And please pray for these people and pray that God will open up opportunities so that many people may come to know Him as their Saviour.